All right. Good morning again. Good morning, and you're welcome to 14 days of mental repositioning. And as usual, I'm Timothy. Coming here every morning has been, for the past, okay, this to be the ninth day. Coming here every morning has really taught me a lot. And when you talk about consistency, and every other thing that pertains to this. And if you would ask me, why do I do this? Aside from the fact that, okay, 14 days, I have to complete it, it's a result of one of my resolutions this year, which was to be more generous with value, right? So, I told you guys, I don't know if I've told you guys here on YouTube, but the guys on Telegram, I mentioned to them that I was going to be more generous with value this year. And I think fair enough. Fair enough, I've been trying to do that, and this is why we're also having 14 days of mental repositioning. And I can assure you that the things that you're hearing are very, very, very. How do I describe this now? Important seems like a word that doesn't encapsulate what I'm trying to say. Let me say useful, right? Useful, very, very useful in giving you a very good standing, right? So if you've been listening, you've been taking notes, you've been following, you realize that every single thing I've been saying so far is applicable, right? It's very applicable. And why I applied the method of a contrast, like the contrast method, it's so that it's more relatable, right? So that you realize, okay, now if you're not thinking this way, you definitely be thinking this way. And that's one of the things I have in my notes this morning. And that's the fact that it's the concept of opposites, right? The concept of opposites. So if you have chosen to not if you've chosen not to do this, then you're obviously doing this. That's how it works. So nobody can say, oh well, I didn't choose that. If you didn't choose that, then you've chosen already. So that's how it works. If you don't make a choice, you've made a choice. So this morning we're looking at another, which is think no, not yes. Think no, not yes. Right? And you find out that one of the things I'm doing is to, so we talk about one and we look at it we flip it. So I think we did that with think today, not yesterday, right? Okay, there, and then the next day we did think tomorrow, not today, right? So then and we're doing this right now, which is think. Yesterday we talked about think yes, not no, and then if you can remember when I was talking about think yes or not no, I referenced that one of the things that's very important is we're looking at that in light of a possibility and impossibility mindset, where you you have ideas, you have thoughts coming to your mind, and you should lean towards a more possibility mentality approach, where you look at things even as abstract as they are, even if you do not understand them initially, do not immediately turn them off. And I forgot to do this. Let me recommend a book for you. It is Tough Times Don't Last, but Tough People Do. Tough Times Never Last, but Tough People Do. It is a book by a German author, Robert Schuller. Robert Schuller. And in Robert's book, there are about 10 laws of possibility thinking. 10 laws, all right? So if you get to read that book, you find that thing there. It's very helpful. And I read through, it made a lot of sense as to why I have been. It really just turned something on in me. And I found, after reading that book, I found an immediate application to the concept. So these things are principles and they're universal. So the things I'm teaching are not things that, oh, Timothy sat down and coined himself. These are things that have been before we were and will be after we're gone, right? So they're principles. So let's look at it. What do we have? Think yes and not no. So I would like to start by saying this. If you're here with me, you can just give me a hi. Just let me know. Okay, good morning. That's something. So I won't feel like I'm here by myself. Let me just get your response. All right. So I'll start with this statement I wrote here. We are creatures of choices, and our life experiences are a culmination of all the choices we've made. I'll say that again. We are creations of choices. So we make choices every day, everywhere, every time. All we do are choice making. That's all we do. We keep making choices. We are creatures of choices, and every single choice that you make sponsors or contributes to the experiences that you contribute to the results that you have, right? So you want to ensure that what choices you are making are choices in the direction of a purposeful life. And just in case I haven't buttressed it enough, why are we looking at mindset? It's because the fulfillment of purpose is hinged the same way your door cannot the door your door moves back and forth, whichever kind of door, it moves back and forth because of the hinge. Once it's detached from the hinge, you find out that it cannot operate. That's why you find those that you have to hold up then push. That's not what you should do with your life. Purpose is hinged on mindset. So if your mindset is not in cooperation with your purpose, you can't there can be no fulfillment. So it's necessary that we consider mindset, and the mindsets that we have would give us a proper mental framework, frame structure, um, proper mental structure to the execution of purpose. That's why we're looking at this. So your choices are accumulation, or your experience are accumulation of choices that you've made. And every single choice that you make results in, there are consequences for choices. There are consequences for choices. There are. Every single thing that you choose has consequences. And let's say you're presented with something and say, okay, I don't choose any of them. If you do not choose, you've chosen something else, right? If you don't choose something, you've chosen something else. So there's no vacuum. I want you to eradicate that. There's no vacuum, right? There's no vacuum. If you do not choose something, you've chosen something else. So I saw a video where they were comparing two things. So it says poverty is hard, also being wealthy is hard. You choose your heart. Being spiritually fervent is hard. Not being spiritually fervent is also hard. You choose your heart. Being small is hard. Being great is also hard. You choose your heart. So everything is about choices. As a matter of fact, choices, I believe, is the backbone of every single result that you have. It's choice. It's about choices. So the quality of the choices you make would be the reason, would be the should I say, the cause for the kind of effect, the cause for the kind of results that you have. So choices are very important, and you want to ensure that your choices have quality in them. I mean, everyone can make choices. Right now, you are choosing. You're choosing to sit here, watch me for the next 30 minutes. It's a choice, and that choice is backed by a desire. It's backed by there's something internal that's regulating you to make that choice. So the clothes you're gonna wear this morning, you can choose. You choose, oh, I don't want to wear green, I want to wear red. You choose it. I chose to wear this. I have a lot of other clothes, but I chose to wear this. So the choices that you make have consequences, and it's the consequences of choices that should go ahead of choice making. I'm emphasizing on this for a reason. It's the consequences of your choices that should preempt, that should come before the choice. So you think about the consequence and then you choose if you like the consequence. And I'm not talking about a biased approach to making choices or to evaluating consequences. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a consequence a proper evaluation. Look at the consequences. That's something you would want to see. So if not, then you can choose. People like to blame their emotions, blame their. Someone gets you upset. You can choose to be upset. You can choose not to be upset. You can choose to get angry. You can choose not to get angry. You can. You are a creature of choice. You can't just say, "Oh, she got me mad." No, she didn't get you mad. You allowed yourself get mad. And listen, do not just allow this slip away. If you see it that way, you are empowered. You're empowered. It means that you can choose whatever life you desire. It starts from the mind. You can choose. You're empowered. It means no one can, if they can try, they can make their own decisions. I mean, yes, bad things happen because bad people make bad choices or because good people keep quiet. So then you can make a choice that you're not going to live as a consequence. You're not going to live as a victim. You can choose. Right? And that's something I've seen about successful people, of which I'm one of them. Anyways, success, because you know when we talk about it, it's like, oh, those guys, I'm part of them, all right? So successful people have learned the art of saying no to many things. I've learned the art of saying no to many things. Now, when we look at no, we're looking at three things. We're looking at discipline, we're looking at self-control, and we're looking at an ability to. Let me stick with those two things. I'll explain the third thing separate from these two. So successful people have learned the art of saying no to many things, to many things. And honestly, if you'd rise in greatness, you would have to say no to quite a number of things. Now, get it. Yesterday, I wasn't talking about I was in the context of possibility and impossibility mindset. That's what I was looking at. So today, it's not about that. This is about discipline. It's about self-control. It's about you being able to do the things that are necessary, right? So you would have to say no to many things. No to an amount of food, no to spending an extra income, no to harvesting a few more hours of sleep, no to going out with those people when you know you have projects to do, no to that movie that has been on your mind and you want to go see when you still have some work to do. You would have to say no to not be impressed by another person's irritable actions. You have to say no to to doing things that is going to hurt your relationship with God and hurt your relationship with people. You have to say no to many things. You have to say no to laziness. You know you're still doing stuff, but then you want to relax. You say no. So the one of the things that I see that have sponsored the life of greatness is the ability to say no. To say no. To say no. So you don't just look at things and yes is your answer to everything. Oh, can we do this? Yes. Oh, your thoughts suggest something to you. You say yes. Oh, how about this? Yes. If you are a creature who just says yes, yes, yes to everything, trust me, greatness is far. Because no, and the thing is, one yes empowers you for another yes. So if you're like, okay, well, let me just do this time. After this, I won't do it anymore. It's not going to work. Because every yes you say empowers you for another yes. And the same thing, every no you say empowers you for another no. You'd have to say no to that extra stick of cigarette. You have to say no to that bottle of alcohol. You know, maybe you're trying to leave and your friends come to you. You have to learn to say no. No. And I'm going to help you understand some of the reasons why we don't say no. And I'll help you realize that they're actually not true. Right? So, being able to exercise discipline, the book of Proverbs is the book that says that the person who has control over his spirit is greater than, is like, the person who has control is greater than the one who conquers a city. And self discipline is the greatest kind of discipline. It's easy to discipline other people, but it's very hard to discipline yourself because you're always in favor of yourself. And even if you look at that statement, you can find a fault there. Because if you're in favor of yourself, then you should do what gets you to make progress. And what gets you to make progress will not all be rosy. But what I mean is that you are a creature of convenience. You're just looking for comfort. Like we are just naturally inclined to seek for comfort. But then, if you would rise in greatness, you would have to take off that mindset of convenience, like just looking for the easy way out, looking for the easy way out, and at the slight presence of opposition, you fled. That's not how it works, right? That's not how it works. Sometimes, many times, actually, you need to say no to inconvenience. So, what are some reasons why we don't say no? So, I'm just going to give you a list of them. Number one, the fear of what people would say. The fear of what people would say. I was speaking to a young man at the time, and eventually I got to know that he smokes and he drinks. And then he agreed with me. He said that he doesn't really like to smoke, but when his friends come over to his place and everyone is smoking, wrapping their weed, I mean, he doesn't want to appear like he's a small boy. He doesn't know what he's being like a child, so he just smokes with them. So guess what he's doing? He doesn't want to say no because he doesn't want to appear some way before them. So what's he doing? He's pleasing their own decision at the expense of his life. So we find ourselves do that many times, and because we don't want, we are concerned about what they will think. Okay, what would they say, or how would they think about it? How would that appear to them? When they start saying this, and we are doing that. It's a different thing. We are doing that at the detriment of our health, of our finance, of our sanity, of our integrity, of our relationship with God, and that's bad. That's bad. The fear of what people would say sometimes pushes us to say, not to make it makes it hard to say no. So what do we do? Okay, let's go. And we know that you don't. You know you don't want to go. You know you shouldn't do it. You know it's a different thing if you're ignorant. It's like you know that this is not what I should do. That guy is trying to talk to you. Oh, let's go and hang out. Let's go and see. Let's go and do this. Let's go and let's just explore. And you know that you shouldn't. But then because you're wondering, what would they say? That guy asked you out. Hey, good example. That guy asked you out. And then because maybe he has been buying you things, or because the guy is a nice guy, so you feel like you don't want to break his heart. So your friends are telling you, say yes to him now, say yes, say yes, say yes. My sister, whatever you see, you got to bear with it. So, better to say no than to be sorry, right? Better to say no. And you know something, and the second thing which is related to the first is that we don't want to hurt people. You know, I'm using this now in relation to relationship. We don't want to hurt people. We don't realize that in us not trying to hurt people, on the long run, we actually do them bad. So imagine you get in a relationship because you don't just want to tell the guy no. Your commitment level from the beginning is already squashed. And eventually, what even puts people in that position is because maybe you've been baited already. You've been receiving a lot of things, so you feel like you have to pay back. Even if you're in that kind of situation, let me tell you something. Say no and stop collecting the gifts. Simple. I mean, because yes, you might have been wrong for actually leading that person on. I don't know why I'm talking about relationship, but you might have been wrong for leading that person on. But at that point where you have to make a decision, you can make a decision. Yes, you can. You can say no. You can say, oh no, this is not. I'm sorry, but I don't think it can work. So do not allow your decisions be because you don't want to hurt people, you don't want to get the person no at all. It doesn't work. And the reason why we do not want to say no is because of perceived, quote unquote, rewards. All right, perceived rewards. I use the word perceived because we feel okay, maybe there's a reward in this. So now that applies to all the smaller things. Let me not say smaller because they also contribute largely to your life. Those decisions you make in impulsively, like you feel okay, you know, your brain just turns off because you just want to do this, and that applies to habits. Applies to habits. It works with the habits. That you're for a split second, you're not just thinking, not even for a split second, because you're already immersed in that desire. So you're not even thinking of the consequence, and then you're just saying yes to everything, and that's what keeps people hooked to porn. So it's like you're immersed in that desire. So even to say no, it's like you're not being disempowered. But even still, at that point, there can be, there is a possibility to still say no to temptations, to say no. There is, honestly, there is. And that's because you have a choice. You always have a choice. So some people say, oh, I don't know what led to what. No, you do. You know the processes. You recall them. You remember them. You know that even at the point you were going to his house, at the point you were typing that link, you knew there was a restraint within you. That is why there was a conflict. A conflict. If there will be no conflict, there was a subtle conflict in your heart. Oh, this, I shouldn't do this. Oh, you should do this. I shouldn't. It's because there is a subtle knowing that this is not what should be done, and you could have made a choice at that point. You know that thing we watch in Tom and Jerry where there's a white guy and a red devil here, white angel, red devil. Speak to no, do this, and said do this. You have a choice, right? You do. You're a creature of choice. So the devil doesn't hold your hand, drag you, and then take you into the action and wear your hands. So God also doesn't do the same. You have a choice, right? You have a choice. What the devil will do at most is to manipulate, to cause a to cause you to tamper with your perception that you will not see things as they are. But still, at that point, you have a choice, and I'm going to let you know how. But the final thing I want to say, why we say finally how to say no and we're quick to say yes, is the lack of an ability to think of consequences. We cannot evaluate situations. We cannot evaluate situations. All right. So it causes you sometimes you're being sentimental, you're being emotional. You're being emotional about decisions. If you can understand the ability, if you can understand emotions, I mean, these things that I'm saying are things everyone needs to practice, myself inclusive. If you can master your emotions, you can master your decisions. I'll say it again. If you can master your emotions, you can master your decisions. When you master your emotions, you master your decisions. Because at the same time, you are a creature of decision of emotions. You are an emotional being. But then, if you allow emotions to get in the way many times, you will make very poor decisions. Sentimental and emotional people are poor decision makers. Facts, high facts, because you live in a world of your own and then not come to terms with reality, right? You have an ideal situation in your mind, or this is how you play out because of your emotions. And emotions have a way of blocking out your ability to think. You can have a clear head. So this is what I advise you. Do not become hard as a stone or become unemotional. No. What I'm saying is allow your mind, empowered mind, take the driver's seat and let your emotions sit on the passenger seat. And that way you're able to be empathetic, you're able to make logical conclusions, even though whilst taking emotions along the way. So if you can master your emotions, you can master your decisions, because decisions are based on your ability to say no is dependent on your ability to keep emotions at bay, right? And we can tell, say just stay, I know you feel like doing this, but no. That's what Joseph did. Don't think Joseph didn't want to feel like it, but there was something higher. So now, how do you learn to say no? Um, so number one is have a higher ideal. Have a higher ideal. What I simply mean by that is have something bigger. Something bigger. This is it. Have goals. Have goals. That's what I mean simply. Have goals. Have goals. Have goals. Think of the impact of your decision on your goals. And when I talk about goals, I'm not talking about small. I'm talking about your life goals, like your life goals. And I can separate that into two things: the things you want to become, all right, and I mean your image. Think about that. It's necessary because it's the same book of Proverbs that says that a good name is better than silver and gold. A good name is better. So when you're thinking about decisions to make, do not just look. There's a lot of things flying in my head. I'm going to say everything. So you want to have goals, have vision, have a plan for your life. Because when you have this vision and you have this plan, it begins to fund your decisions. You know, okay, I shouldn't do that. For example, you have a vision of building wealth. Trust me, your financial decisions will be managed. You know how to direct your finances. You won't be the one who spends money anyhow. You budget, you track your expenses. If you have a vision to become if you want to be intentional about your relationship, your work with Jesus, definitely you know any decision to be just like Joseph did. I can't do this and sin against God. I can't. I cannot do this. You have, for example, in your relationships, you want to be better, you want to do better things. Then you have a choice, a decision. It's okay, I'm not going to burst out in anger like this. Peradventure, you've noticed that you usually have anger issues, you're easily triggered. So that forces you to say, okay, I have a choice. I can choose to lash out in anger, or I can reserve myself and listen to what the other person has to say. That's something that is necessary. You always have a choice. I call this like there's always about 7 seconds to think before you make a rash response. There's always that gap, that 7 seconds gap, where you're able to just sit down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In 7 seconds, you can think about many things that can happen as a result of the decision you're about to make. Right? So always do that. Another thing I saw when it comes to temptation, one thing you can do if you're feeling tempted to do some things is to count to 23. 23. And then like the 23 seconds rule, where you're able to think. And in 23 seconds, you find out that you are less likely to act impulsively. Now you've processed the thoughts and it doesn't even make sense to you anymore. But then when you think and act impulsively, you make very poor decisions. So allow your thought process go through. Allow your thoughts go through, process it, right? Allow that. Allow that. Allow that. So I think I wrote something, know what you need, not what you want. Know what you need, not what you want. No, have a clear understanding of what you need. I'm not asking you for what you want, what you need. Needs and wants are different things. As a matter of fact, what you need may not be what you like, but you need it. Honestly, there are many things. Nobody likes fasting. I don't like fasting. Well, I like the effects of fasting. I like what happens with me when I fast. But the process of fasting, if I can get the effect of fasting from any other means, I'll go for it. But then you need something. You don't have to like what you need. Your emotions don't have to be in the way to know I need this. Separate what you want from what you need. What you want is not always necessary. And that you feel like doing doesn't mean it should be expressed. What you need is the most important. So you think about it. Do you really need that thing you want to get? Do you really need to go to that place? Do you really need to enter that relationship? I'm not asking you to be emotional. That's why I told you, throw away sentiment. Think, do you need this? And if you need, write out 10 reasons why you need this. 10. If it's not up to 10 different reasons why this is needed, if you can't even get up to 3, trust me, there's a problem. Do you need it? Do you need to do this? Okay, so why do you need to do this? Do you need to do this or do you want to do this? You must be honest with yourself. Do you want to do this or do you need? Do you actually need to do it? So think about needs and wants, right? Needs and wants. It's something that helps when I'm spending money. I'm still mastering the ropes anyways. But then when I'm about to get, when you go to, yesterday, I just looked at the mall and the statement just came to mind. It says, beware of flashing nylons. Beware. If you notice, many of these packagings are just flashy, green, bright, blue, yellow, orange. So as you're passing those malls, passing those stores, you're just seeing bright things calling at you. You have to learn to say no. Say no. Say no. Right? Say no. If eventually you're trying to overcome a habit, maybe you're spending too much or addictions or whatever. See, the first thing you want to learn to do is to say no and say no again and say no again, because every no you say empowers you for another no. But every time you say yes and say, okay, it's just this time, you've empowered yourself for another yes. You've increased the chances of being able to say another yes. Right? So say no. And one thing you can do is like for things that happen, like things separate from um other things, you can learn to give yourself like a reward system, but remind yourself of the reward in the long run and let that encourage you. Right? Remind yourself of why you're doing this. Now, same thing also. Have a why. That's another reason, one way to help you say no. Have a why for your no's, so that in times of temptation, your why empowers you to say no. So why are you saying no? So don't just say no because Timothy said you should say no, or because your pastor said you should say no. Have a why. What was Joseph's why? Why would I do this and sin against God? No. So have a why for your no's. So you can go as far as writing them out, particularly if there are areas of struggle that you have seen. Go ahead and write them out. Why won't I do this? Why would I keep saying no to this? And you write them out. So every time you're faced temptation, you can draw out from your archives of why you are saying no, and that empowers you so you don't feel guilty. Right? So remind yourself of why you're saying no. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is okay, not the last thing, anyways, but second to the last thing. So think of your life with that decision in a long term, not short term. Think of it in the long run. Think of it in the long run. You know, why I'm using buying things because I fell into that trap yesterday, so I'll be honest. I think I should show you. Let me show you what I bought. So I've been thinking about this stuff for a long time, and then I got to this store. I wanted to just buy a drink because I bought food, but then I saw this thing. I was like, oh my god, I've been looking for this thing. It's not expensive at all, not in any way at all. But then it has broken my. I didn't say no to what I should have said no to. I'm sure some of you, if you see this, you understand why I didn't say no. So, is this? It's this chocolate bar. It's this chocolate bar. So I saw it and I was like, my goodness, I've been looking for this thing since and I found it. So I just bought it. So, anyways, you should learn to say no more often learn to say no. And the last thing, time is fast spent. So the last thing is do not tilt towards extremes, right? Do not look at the extremists to make a decision right now, in the moment. Do not look at the extremes. There are a lot of people who might have made that decision and they'll be away with it. But do not consider the extreme and make it the topic and make it the reality. Those are extremes, those are exceptions. Those are exceptions. Do not consider an exception and make it reality. All right. Look at situations. That's a kind of fallacy where you look at an exception and draw out a conclusion from an exception. That's very wrong. Even scientifically, it doesn't work. So look for people who have made proper decisions and follow through. I could keep talking on this, but let's stop there for today. So, guys, I want to also recommend another book to you. It's The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman, I think Vincent Peale, if I'm correct. That book would also help you a whole lot. So, guys, we've come to the end of day 9. Think no, not yes. It's 14 days of mental repositioning. We have 5 days to go. My goodness, we have 5 days to go. Wow, that's nice. I'm happy to hear that. But then, this is your first video, I want you to go back to the others and get to glean wisdom from them. And I would love to hear from you. So I'm going to be posting this link on the Telegram channel. If you're not on the Telegram channel, please go join and get the best of what we have there. Again, I'm the Rabbi, your number one cheerleader. I'll always be cheering you, always be on your side towards greatness, cheering you and supplying you with what's necessary. As always, like I've always said, purpose is to help you find purpose. And I want you to arm you with mindsets that help you work and live a life of purpose. So I'm going to be seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be another wonderful, amazing day. You don't want to miss tomorrow. It's going to be really helpful. All right. So again, till we see you in the next one. Oh yes, I forgot. Please don't forget to subscribe. All right, please do subscribe. If you've watched this, you like it, please subscribe. This is the longest I've made. Subscribe. Please give this video a like and also share it. I really, really appreciate that. All right. Thank you so much.